The entire history of the galaxy rested on a single decision made in an empty room. On a rainy night on Coruscant, Anakin Skywalker stood alone in the Jedi Council chambers, torn between his loyalty to the Order and his desperate need to save his wife. In the timeline we know, he rushed out the door, betrayed Mace Windu, and doomed the Republic. But what if he didn't? This is the story of a galaxy where Anakin Skywalker simply sat down and waited. It is a story where the Empire never rose, where Darth Vader never existed, and where the Chosen One fulfilled his destiny not with a lightsaber, but with silence. The sun was setting on the Republic, casting long shadows across the polished floor of the Jedi Council chambers. Inside, Anakin Skywalker paced like a caged animal. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to intervene, to stop Mace Windu from killing the only man who promised to save Padmé. The voices in his head were loud, but this time, the training of Obi-Wan Kenobi held firm. Anakin gripped the back of Master Yoda's empty chair, his knuckles turning white. He took a breath. Then another. He didn't ignite his lightsaber. He didn't run to the hangar. He forced himself to trust Mace Windu. Outside the window, the endless traffic of Coruscant flowed like a river of light, unaware that the fate of trillions was being decided by one man simply staying put. Kilometers away, the Chancellor's office had turned into a war zone. 3 Jedi Masters lay dead on the crimson carpet. Only Mace Windu remained, his purple blade moving in a blur of the pod precision. Palpatine, the secret Sith Lord Darth Sidious, fought with the ferocity of a demon. He expected Anakin to burst through the door at any moment. He needed Anakin to save him. But the door remained closed. Windu drove the Sith Lord back toward the shattered window, his blade reflecting the dark side energy back at its source. Palpatine's eyes darted to the entrance, panic flickering behind the yellow irises for the first time. His plan relied on a rescue that wasn't coming. Without the confusion of Anakin's arrival, Windu's focus was absolute. Lightning lighting erupted from Palpatine's fingertips, screaming across the room. In our timeline, this is where Anakin would cut off Windu's hand. Here, Windu absorbed the blast with his lightsaber, his teeth against the pressure. He pushed forward. The lightning arched back, melting the Chancellor's face, but Windu did not hesitate. He felt the shatter point, the single moment of weakness in the Sith Lord's defense. With a shout, Mace sliced downward. The hum of the lightsaber ceased, replaced by a sudden, heavy silence. The body of Sheev Palpatine slumped against the windowsill. No order was given to the clones. No temple marched upon. The 1,000-year plot of the Sith ended not with a bang, but with a smoking robe on the floor of an office. Mace Windu didn't have time to celebrate. He was wounded, exhausted, and standing over the corpse of the most popular leader in galactic history. He activated his comlink, but not to call the clones. He called the temple. Within minutes, Jedi shadows were securing the Senate building. Mace Windu, the vice chair, was found cowering in his office, and under the pressure of a lightsaber, he spilled everything. The evidence of Palpatine's double life as Sidious was secured before his agents could destroy it. The Senate would not take this well. The Jedi had just assassinated the Chancellor. Martial law was declared immediately, turning the Jedi Order from peacekeepers into temporary military rulers, a move that made many uncomfortable. The most terrifying weapon in Palpatine's arsenal sat inside the heads of millions of soldiers, waiting for a voice command that never came. Order 66 required the direct authorization of the Supreme Chancellor. With Palpatine dead, the inhibitor chips remained dormant. On Utapau, Commander Cody handed Obi-Wan Kenobi his lightsaber back instead of shooting him. On Maigito, Ki-Adi-Mundi finished his assault on the Separatist forces without being shot in the back. The Grand Army of the Republic remained the Grand Army of the Republic. The Jedi generals, unaware of how close they had come to extinction, continued their campaigns. The bond between clone and Jedi, forged in 3 years of war, held firm, saving thousands of lives in a single hour. Back in the council chambers, the door hissed open. Anakin leaped to his feet, expecting the worst. Instead, Mace Windu walked in, smelling of ozone and smoke, but alive. He looked at Anakin with a new expression, not suspicion, but respect. He told the young knight that the Sith Lord was dead. Anakin collapsed into his chair, the crushing weight of his visions, the fear of Padmé dying, the manipulation, it all crashed down on him. Palpatine had lied. He wasn't the only way to save her. But with the relief came terror. Anakin knew that with the Sith gone, the truth about his own secrets would have to come out. He couldn't hide anymore. While Coruscant dealt with the political firestorm, a shuttle arrived from Mandalore. Ahsoka Tano had captured Darth Maul. In the original timeline, she would have faced a ship full of clones trying to kill her. In this reality, she landed at the Jedi Temple to a hero's welcome. She walked the halls she thought she'd never see again. The reunion between Anakin and Ahsoka wasn't a tragic goodbye, but a frantic embrace. Anakin, shaken by how close he came to darkness, held onto his former Padawan like a lifeline. Ahsoka brought crucial information: Maul's ravings about Sidious and the plan for the clones. With Palpatine dead, the Jedi finally listened. The danger had passed, but Anakin's personal crisis was just beginning. He couldn't live a double life in a galaxy that was healing. He went to the hospital wing where Padmé had been taken, not because of a force choke, but for safety during the riots. There, in front of Obi-Wan and a recovering Mace Windu, Anakin confessed. He admitted to the marriage. He admitted to the pregnancy. He expected anger. He expected to be stripped of his rank. Obi-Wan just looked at him with sadness, having suspected it for months. Mace Windu, however, was less forgiving. The code was absolute, but Windu also knew that Anakin's choice to stay in the chambers had saved them all. With Ahsoka's report on Maul and the secured files from Palpatine's office, the Jedi uncovered the truth about the inhibitor chips. The horror that washed over the Jedi Order was absolute. They realized their loyal soldiers were designed to be their executioners. The Fives incident was reinvestigated immediately. Jedi healers and Kaminoan scientists were ordered to begin mass surgeries to remove the chips. The clones were confused, but they trusted their generals. The Grand Army remained intact, but its purpose shifted. No longer tools of a Sith Lord, they became the protectors of a fragile, transitional government. The trust between clone and Jedi was scarred, but it wasn't broken. There was no broken heart. There was no losing the will to live. Padmé Amidala was a fighter. And with the Sith Lord dead and her husband safe, she had every reason to survive. On a quiet morning, in the medical center of the Jedi Temple, Luke and Leia were born. They weren't hidden on asteroid fields or desert planets. They were born into the light of Coruscant. Anakin held his children with his own flesh and blood hands, not mechanical limbs. The prophecy of Padmé's death was indeed a self-fulfilling loop created by Palpatine, one that Anakin had broken by refusing to play his part. The Skywalker family was whole. The Jedi Council convened 1 week later. The subject was Anakin Skywalker. Despite saving the Order through his inaction, he had broken the code's most fundamental tenet. Mace Windu argued that the code could not be selectively applied. Yoda, sensing the shift in the Force, proposed a different path. Anakin wasn't expelled in disgrace. He was given a choice. He could remain a Jedi and renounce his family, or he could leave with honor. For Anakin, looking at Padmé and the twins, the choice was easy. He laid his lightsaber on the council floor. He walked out of the temple, not as a fallen hero, but as a father. The war didn't end instantly. The Separatist leaders were still hiding on Mustafar, waiting for orders from a dead Sidious. Without the mission to slaughter them, the war dragged on for a few more months. However, without the strategic manipulations of Palpatine feeding information to both sides, the Separatist strategy crumbled. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, now acting as a consultant for the Republic military rather than a Jedi, led the final campaign. They captured the Separatist Council rather than executing them. The droid armies were deactivated. The Confederacy was dissolved through treaty and negotiation, not through a massacre. The galaxy began the slow, painful process of reconstruction. With Palpatine exposed as a Sith Lord, his entire administration was purged. The Senate was in chaos, but leaders like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma stepped into the void. They didn't need to form a rebellion. They simply took back their government. Padmé Amidala, after a brief maternity leave, returned to the Senate floor. Her voice became the guiding force for a new constitution, one that limited executive power to ensure a tyrant could never rise again. The Jedi Order, chastened by their blindness, stepped back from military command. They returned to their role as peacekeepers, but with a new understanding that their dogma had nearly destroyed them. Imagine a childhood for Luke and Leia where they weren't separated. They grew up on Naboo, spending their summers swimming in the Lake Country, and their winters in the bustling apartments of Coruscant. They knew their father. Anakin taught Luke to fly before he could walk. He taught Leia how to negotiate, though she mostly learned that from her mother. They were strong in the Force, and eventually they were sent to train with Uncle Obi-Wan. But they weren't training to defeat an empire. They were training to protect a republic. Anakin, free from the fear of loss, became the galaxy's greatest pilot and a devoted father, finally finding the peace the Jedi Order never gave him. The prophecy stated that the Chosen One would bring balance to the Force. For decades, Jedi believed this meant destroying the Sith. They were right, but they were wrong about how it would happen. Anakin didn't need to destroy the Sith with his blade. He just had to let Mace Windu do it. By choosing not to act, by conquering his own fear in that council chamber, Anakin destroyed the Sith Order. He saved the Jedi from extinction. He saved his wife and children. The balance wasn't achieved through war. It was achieved through a single moment of stillness. Anakin Skywalker didn't need to die to redeem himself. He just needed to wait. The galaxy we know is one of war, tragedy, and redemption bought at a terrible price. But in the quiet reflection of the council chambers, a different galaxy was born. One where the Death Star was never built, where Alderaan still floats in the core, and where a young man in black armor never terrorized the stars. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the hardest battle we fight is the one against our own impulses. If you enjoyed this journey into the light side, hit like and subscribe for more. Next time, we're asking, what if Yoda actually killed Palpatine?